All right. That's fine. There's a crouch button. Yeah, like, fuck off. Like, why would I not want to do that? Oh, shit. Okay. Greetings, fellow researcher. As you know, an unusual abundance of plants and creatures have been sighted in the peaks lately. The Violet Archive was set up there to investigate this phenomenon. We have received word that you might be interested in being part of our research efforts. If so, please accept this invitation by following the instructions as attached. Lodgings will be provided. With regards, Vali Ashilaan, head archivist of the Violet Archive. Got it, Queen. Say less. We'll go. That's short enough. Sure. Not really. Oh? Kind of. Yo, what's good, Calliope? Yes, lamp, in fact, that. Lamp to the utmost degree, though. Calliope is here making lunch. Good. Lunch for the Lippo. The fuck does this mean? Do you just have yellow? Fine, I'll take white. It's fine. Ignore my messages, Calippo. They're old now, but so just ignore them. I can kind of live with the kicks. I don't know. Sure. Oh, this was a bag. Okay. Oh. I didn't see a response. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Hold on, Lippo. Oh, we'll do power wash. Oh, whatever you're saying. Fuck. Oh. Alright. I guess a green bag, maybe. Actually, no, purple works. Sure. So, Lonnie. Wop. Get me an A. Get me an A and let's fucking go. Also, I'm sorry about the ads. I'm sorry. Greetings, Solani. I'm Vali, head archivist of the Violet Archive, and your mentor for research. Fuck me. Hold on, all others. We're just gonna have to deal with the angle being this because I don't have a thing to hold my phone anymore. I broke all of it. That's okay, no worries. Back. Yes, welcome back to house. You're gonna have to deal with me at like a fucking 3/4 view for like this whole video. I'm Valley, head archivist of the Violet Archive and your mentor for research. You must have received my letter. I'm happy to have you on board from today onwards. First off, welcome to your new home. Well, not that new, technically. It does come furnished, though. There should be some farmer's tools from the previous occupant lying around somewhere, which you'll need. You can start by finding them. Let me know once you have gotten some tools. Some tools. Let me in here. Give me that. Tools. I do like tools. Tools are nice. We're playing Research Story. It was also somewhat chill, so I was like, eh. You found them? Great. Let's see. Here's one thing you'll need: a research journal. You obtained a research journal. Press J to open it. What a sizzler. You'll be able to record your observations of plants and creatures in that journal. The best way to learn is to do it. Yes. That would be the case for most things, thank you. Here, I've written down what you need to do for plant research. It includes observing a plant and then successfully growing one. As for creatures, it will involve taming and raising them. Rhea, the village druid, has agreed to help out in that regard. She lives to the north in a large treehouse. You won't miss it. Also, drop by the archive at the south side of town when you have some time. I'd like you to meet the rest of the researchers as well. Go forth, researcher. I'll be at the archive if you need anything. Thanks. Cannot wait to just do none of what you advised me to do. Man, the stamina really does decay fast, huh? I adore it. It's only 7 AM and I'm already passing on. 1, 2, 3. That will do for now. Fuck y'all, I'm going up. Hold, keep item tab. Cool. Let me research this. You found a research sample. Research samples. As a researcher, you will come across plants and creatures that can be further observed. By observing, you will learn how to grow or tame them. To start, press E to open your inventory and drop a sample into the magnifying glass. You'll start with 3 research slots, which can be increased as you progress. Research it. Did it do it? Oh, I need 3. You learned how to forage chamomile seeds. Records are updated. Nice. Sorry that I'm blah. Oh, shit. There we are. Yeah, sorry that I'm blah today. It's been like this for a few weeks now. You foraged a seed. You can forage seeds from plants you've observed and sow them on your farms as crops. Thank you. Plant seeds on tilled soil. Some crops only grow. Fuck me running. VTube Studio is really just fucking ruining my day. How about there? Is that better? Do you like it? Do you like it there, phone? Huh? Alright. What do you mean you don't like it there? This is as far as I'm moving you. Motherfucker. Plant seeds on tilled soil. Some crops only grow under certain conditions. Always check your journal before planting. Yes. Chicken. Chicken. Allow me to research the chicken. Did I win? Okay. I want to be your friend, chicken. Do you not want to be my friend, chicken? This game is already detrimental to me. Not a research item. What the fuck you mean this isn't a research item? It's a mushroom. Fine. I don't know what to do with them either. Fucker. Big tree. Establishments. You have entered an establishment. Some establishments, just shops, have counters. Yes. Of course. Of course, of course. Why, hello, dearie. I see you're getting acquainted to the folks in town. You can call me Nim. Got you. What's this? The tree glows with magic. It continues to grow and sprout new leaves without the need for soil. Hi. You're new here. That I am. I'm Rhea. Nice to meet you, Rhea. Ah, you must be the creature researcher then. Nice to meet you, Solani. Oh, you must have heard. Recently, more creatures have been showing up around the peaks. Some are native, while others have never been seen around these parts. Due to this change, us druids have decided to support the research efforts of the Archive and the development of Shimmerbrook. We wish to learn more about these creatures while keeping a balance in the region. So what is my role? Well, you'll need to record the characteristics and behaviors of various creatures. You can begin researching using a creature sample. Samples come in many forms, from dropped feathers to shredded furs. You'll then need to observe, tame, and raise creatures while recording what you've learned. Following so far? Yup, excited to get a guy. That's great, I'm excited for you to start as well. You can observe creatures once you start research on them. Once observation is complete, you can tame them. When taming creatures, we can gain their trust by feeding them what they like. I have some feed here that'll help you get started. Place one near a creature, and if it likes it, you can take the chance to tame it. Come to me again when you've managed to tame one. I'll share more about raising them then. Thanks for the seed bowl. Thanks. I'm gonna tame the fuck out that chickie. Nope. Do you want a chicken? Don't follow me, chicken. You're mine. Fuck. Creatures. Yes, creatures, but I can't tame it because I fucking don't know anything about it. Oh, creatures. Can I not just be his friend? Fucking. It's fine. Mush. Mush. What is this? Can't touch it, don't care. I can't put my hands on it. Not anything I care about. What is this? Sick, I can touch it. Oh. I would just be a funny fucking guy and not have to worry about anything. Stop moving. Stop fucking moving. Hey, stop. Stop it. Thanks. There's a chicken in my house. Chickie. It might be a common fowl. But now it's gonna be my fucking common fowl. Do you want it? Yay! What is it, mine now? What the fuck are you? Kitty. You're a new face. Are you the one who moved into the farm? My name's Sesame, but you can call me Sam. Hello, Sam. I like you a lot, Sam. Already in progress. You learned how to forge peppermint seeds. Sam? I hope you were doing that in like the Dean voice. Otherwise, what I said makes no sense. Kissable right here. Kissable orc. Good. Good. Glad. Oh, who are you? Oh, I heard from Vali about you. I'm Luke. Fucking would be a Luke. I'm researching fungi for the archive. I'm a pretty fun guy. Yeah, that's all. Some sort of glowing device with magic. It has a fish symbol on its front. I give it fish. It gives me the secret to the universe. Oish. Now this is random. But I was thinking about your monologue the last time we played Content Warning together. Where you're like, I am a wolf in a trap. And I really wanted to play some of that, but I didn't know if you were down to do that for a stream. So I didn't ask. That's essentially where the story's leading. I don't know why I thought of it, but it made me smile. It was a funny little monologue. What is this? Sunread opens Wednesdays and Sundays only. And what the fuck's the... What happened to VTube Studio?
It doesn't look like you have an app named Wednesdays.
Shut the fuck up, Siri. Who? I didn't even say your name. Wasn't even close. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, I'm Ira. I don't think I've seen you around before, or Ira. Oh, you're Solani. It's nice to meet you. I work at the archive too, as a cartographer and librarian. Oh, before I forget, I have a few copies of the local map at the archive, so drop by and I'll give you one. Let's do our best for the archive. Oh, to be an archivist. Give me schmooms. Hi, my name is Zuri Hark. You are... Ah, I assumed so. Because recently I've got a routine going, so it would be best to reach out throw wrenches in it randomly. That's fair. I assume so. I'm also from the archive. It's good to make your acquaintance. If you need anything, don't hesitate to let me know. Oh, what a noose. But you cannot provide it for me. Creature spotted bird. Ah, you must be Solani. Welcome to Shimmerbrook. I'm Kip. Hello, Kip. You can we be friends, Kip? I'm a messenger around here. It's nice to finally meet you, Kip. I like you, Kip. Do you want some chamomile, Kip? Do you want it? Yes. Friendship. Target spotted. Hi there, I'm Soy. 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 Ah, it's Sue. Okay. Sue. I'm fine either way, though. It's nice to meet you. I record for topics related to rocks and minerals for the archive. I could tell. Are you a Dragoin? Maybe we'll get to find some caves in the mountains, too. I'll let you know if I find anything interesting. Can we be friends? You perhaps want a piece of chamomile? Oh, you're here at just the right time. If you haven't met the others, do go and say hi, friends. Friends. Already met you. Oh, I'm a researcher of magic history and forged magic. If you need someone to bounce your ideas off of, I'm here to listen. Thanks. Hi, we've met. No need to be a dick about it. Hello, Solani. Welcome to the archive. Like I promised, here's a map of Shimmerbrook. I hope it's useful to you. So useful, dog. Gog. I see you've met the rest of them. This is your official welcome to the Violet Archive. I hope you can learn well from one another. Once again, we're happy to have you on board. I feel like I've seen this artist's style somewhere. Don't know where. Feel free to enter and leave the building when we're open. I'm still arranging some of the shelves, but yours should be ready soon. Well, I'll conclude our introductions for now. Thank you for joining us. Thanks. Valet concludes the meeting. Good. Cause I didn't wanna be there anymore. I didn't wanna be there anymore. Yeah. Hello, I'm Yun Shi, and I run the general store. If you need anything, let me know. Greetings, my name is Z, or Z, if you're being American about it. I run the general store with my wife, Yun Shi. I hope our goods would be useful to you. What you got? Details. Jesus Christ. It's a lot. It's a lot that you're offering me. Creature music box for creatures? Very well. Is this your son? Hi. Oh, hello, I'm Ming. Who are you again? Get lunch. Consume. Ah, I see, okay. Do you want a cherry fucking you want some of this? I like you. Goodbye. Nocturnal creatures. Some creatures only come out at night. Know where to find them? Assuming a fox comes out in the dead of night to consume. There are some notices on the board. The art of making. Ever wondered how to build your own fences? Well, want to know more. We asked our resident woodworker, Theo, on his process, and this is what he shared. Of course, we believe any high-quality furniture should be sourced from a woodworker like Theo himself. Thanks. Thanks. Fucking get in there. I don't want none of this shit. How plant? Shit, fuck. Yeah, just give me like, give me like a nice fucking that. Okay. Delectable. Take my happy ass to sleep. Good night. Congratulations, you found stuff. Hello, is that Ming? No, it's Z, okay. Good morning, Solani. Don't mind me, I'm just here to collect your shipments and I'll be on my way. Take your time. Thank you. You're up pretty early. You must be working hard. Of course. Now, I'm done here. I shan't hold you up. Thank you for your business. Yeah. Thank you for the money. I don't give a fuck about anything. And if I did, you would have to put me in the drink. Sora. You want some Sabe food? Yay, food. Thank you. You tamed the chicken. Please give it a name. Say fucking less. It is Grub. Grub the chicken. Tamed creatures will follow you around. You can pat them daily and check their status by left-clicking them. You can make them stay at a spot or follow you again by right-clicking them. Bend. There truly is only one grub. There truly is only one grub. And that's the one on my tail. Little tiny grub. Grubbing. Grubbing. Wait. So did you announce anyway that you're streaming? Well, I don't have the server anymore, dude. I deleted it. And I'm kind of in the mindset where, like, yeah, dude, you can't. It's gone. That server's been gone for weeks now. And I don't care to tweet because, I mean, I wasn't even going to stream anyway because I saw no point in it. Give. Hello? Dragon Man. Quiet time. Well. So fuck myself. Sorry. It's amberberry season. Okay. I like that chicken sprite. That's a good chicken sprite. Oh yeah. This right here? Creature. Grub. Yeah. We should do a Nuzlocke of like a Gen 1 Pokemon game. Don't know where I'm gonna get a cartridge that fucking works. Well, I have... Well, no, Gen 1's not Crystal. I was gonna say I have the Crystal cartridge, but... That's it. Like, my yellows and blues and shit don't work anymore. Like, they turn on, but you can't save them, so what's the point? I don't really want to emulate it. Because I want to hold it physically in my hand. Right in my ham. Yes. Yes. Because, like, emulation's fine. But I want to feel something. And I can only feel something if I'm holding it in my hands. Hey, you sell a fishing rod, bud? I have one. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. It wouldn't be too much work. Oh, thank you, cat friend. Thank you, Fend. God, what a champion among men you are, Sam. San Marino. I soldered some shit back in machine shop in high school, but I had a yellow version, but you know who threw it away, so. Fish. I want it. Oh yeah. It wouldn't be too hard once we got the materials. Oh Christ. Okay. I mean, you can buy Gen 1 carts off of like eBay and shit where people have already done that work for you. That's what I did with Crystal. But then you run the risk of it also not working. Like, Crystal just decides when it wants to work. Sometimes I turn it on and it's like, no. Yeah, I think the Crystal cart costed me like, God, I want to say it was only like 20 something. But like I said, that's true, yeah. A grass cod for a fishy belly. What? Give me fish. Fuck. Fish. Doesn't that crystal have jingly? It does. It also decides when it wants to work or not. Yeah. He also, like, it's not even like the full chip. Like, it is clear. Like, it's the crystal cart. Like, it's the big old crystal cart, you know, the square, but it's like a Game Boy SP fucking motherboard in there. Like, God. It's a miracle that thing fucking worked. Oh, of course it's bootleg, dude. This man made that himself out of the goodness of his heart. And he's a bitch for it. But, you know, whatever. That's on me for trusting. What do you mean it's not a research item? It's a fucking fresh. I'm gonna fucking end it. That's fair. Fuck. Shit, fuck. I'm sorry for the ads, but I need that money. Ugh. I mean, I can't even play the games right. I've been in such a fucking shitty headspace. So close to just selling the PC again, but I'm trying to remain strong in that regard. Hey, I don't like your tone. How could you talk about Christopher Walken like that? Back it up and tone it down. Welcome back to house. He's trying to sell me shit and he knows damn well I ain't got the money. Fair. Christopher, we talked about this. Christoph Walkie. You know you can't be doing these things. Think about the children, Kristoff. Stick. Purchasing anything in this economy, you forget yourself, Christopher. That's true. God, that's some shit. I really did just get Wesker vibes from that. Trying to hatch an evil plan in this economy? You forget yourself, Christopher. And it's like, fuck you, Wesker. Ah, how crass. Ah.
Hello, Grub.
Oh, fuck. I gotta feed you? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm either gonna become Albert Wesker or the Joker. You could become Albert Joker or Joker Wesker. Why does it just have to be one? Me giving to the voice of the Green Goblin in my head. Honestly, fair. If that happened, I'd have to push you off the mountain like they did Willem Dafoe in the Grand Budapest Hotel. Where do I buy food for this chicken bastard? I'm so glad I got to show you that movie before they nuked VR chat. Yeah, it was fucking funny. God, when they pushed him off, that was still the most unexpected thing ever. It was so goddamn funny. Such a campy movie too. Yes, I need chicken feed for my chickies. Oh yeah, good cinematography for sure. Chicken feed, please. Do you sell chicken feed? You're of no use to me. How do I feed the chickies? It's a bit weird how you're just watching me. Am I just fucking dumb? Where food? Where food for chicken? How get food for chicken? Like, they made his assassin character so ominous and intimidating, but also made his death so hilarious. Oh yeah, it was so funny. Where do they sell the chicken feed? Hi, you are? Solani, you're new in town, huh? I'm Aramis, the local blacksmith. Good to meet you. Greetings! Heard a little about a new researcher in town. Guessing that's you then. Name's Theo. Welcome to Mugs and Darts. What would you like today? I would like food for my chicken, but I'm assuming you don't sell that here, so I will be on my way. Do you sell? Man, how am I supposed to feed a chicken if nobody is open? What the higgity haggity hack? Haven't seen you around before, have I? I'm Greydor. Well met. You here to get some masonry done? If you look around town, I built most of the buildings from the ground up. Impressive! Pretty cool! Way to go! Sorry, no, don't go back into that. Don't go back into that. Nobody wants that. Wait, is that a secret? Secret? Oh. So tired of being lied to. So sick of being lied to. Give me your message robe. A fox. What do you require, friend? I want to be your friend. What do fixity foxities require? Oh my gosh, there's just a downright plethora of dudes. I want a fox. Unbelievable slots. Oh. No, I want a fiend. So he needs a home. He needs food. How the fuck? Where do I get food for grubbing? This is so sad. The one time I find foxes and I can't even have them. Oh wait, do you sell food for friends here? Give me your shit. Why are you going to scream? What happened? Oh my fucking god. Hey Solani. So you've tamed a chicoine. Now to keep your creature happy, you will need to give it a home and keep it fed. I have seen more ads in the last half hour than I have in the last 10 years. I'm sorry, dude. Like, Twitch changed their fucking shit around again, and I just don't know what to do about it anymore. I just don't know what to do, man. I've fucking been fighting a losing battle this whole time. Now, to keep your creature happy, you will need to give it a home and keep it fed. Yeah, same. Assign creatures to pens and add their favorite type of feed to the trove. And remember to pat them daily. Happy creatures will often give you back to their caretakers and produce useful items. This final bit of information should also be recorded down to complete a piece of creature research. Please report back to Valley when you've completed the research. She'll be glad to hear about your progress. Before I forget here, take this as well. It's on the house. Thank you. Do you sell food for creatures? Oh. What? I will sit here and endure it because I want to support my friend, but that doesn't mean I won't be talking, because I do be talking. I do be talking too, I understand. I will take 3 of these. What does it... Do you think it's a meat bowl for foxes to tame them? Because it doesn't tell me. Oh, actually, no. Foxes eat egg, don't they? Don't they, like, hunt down egg? So maybe it's egg bowl I need. Dude, I'm suffering. I don't know. I'm gonna make an executive decision, and I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Yeah, my chickadee friend needs food. You. Shit. Let's try feeding you an egg bowl. You want egg? Yay! Shit, fuck. Well, just know that the process of taming it has begun. Food for the chickie. How do I feed you, chickie? Eat it. Chickie. No, come here. We're going home. Now, where do I want to put your house is the question. You want house here? Oh, can only go in the fucking skink. I don't want to. There's no room. I don't fucking know. So this is like a farming game, like Story of Seasons, or it's yeah. It's more like you're only doing the farming aspect because you're a researcher categorizing new flora and fauna and stuff. Like you came to a new town to research everything, essentially. So it's got that aspect, yeah. Yeah. Chicken. You. Chicken. To Groob. Hey, yo, Groob, you want food, bro? Food. So you're a biologist just with extra steps. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. But is farming still a primary mechanic? Yeah. I mean, for what I've seen so far, I mean, I am tilling and watering and planting and all that good stuff. Greetings, Solani. I was working on some furniture blueprints. Thanks. Chicken. Gates. Yes. Okay. Chickaween is good. Yes, Chicoin is good. I love me a Chickaween. No available slots. How the fuck? How do I get research back? Oh. I see. Okay. Not thrilled about that, but I get it. Okay, well, let's fucking get after it then. You could never fathom the power that I wield. Harvesting things is my favorite thing. Bah, 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 bah. Ba, 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 ba. Hey, Calypso. Hear me out. What if we... No, work past this. You've been talking about this. Okay. What if we created a Gen 1 Pokemon like, but all it was you caught and raised different types of chickens. Like, that's all it was. There were no other creatures, just various types of chickens, from the normal to the eldritch to the fantasy to the magical. Just chickens. Chickmon. I would do it. I would do it. See, I'm not even fucking around. I've been legitimately thinking about this idea for months. And I think maybe that's another reason that I'm like so blah and depressed, is because it's like I want to do this so bad. I just suck at networking to get a group together to do it. But I really I want to make a fucking game where you just raise various chickens. That's all I want. Like, these last few classes in my college have been like game-centered classes where we've been writing game scripts and like creating little text games. And I realized that me like making game, but me just don't have the skills necessary to create game. Like, I could do a text adventure, no problem, because I write, but like I can't realize the chicken game on my own. But yes, I do really want to do that. And should you wish to be a part of it, we can be the chicken men together. Oh. Whoa. Fish. But why? Oh, did I die? Cool. You feel exhausted today. Yeah, that tracks. See, I'll know that. I'll do. Thing is, I don't have those kind of friends. Like, the people that are around me are either musicians or they crochet, and they have absolutely no experience with crafting sprites or game design. So like this would be like I would have to reach out to just like random people and network, and it's just hard because I'm not a game developer, so I'm not gonna get hits. Like it's gonna, like, I know it's a process. It's gonna be a long time. It's not gonna happen in a day. I know. I just do not know where to begin because I'm not in that space. What message on Discord? No, I saw it. I saw it. It was, if it was the long one, yeah, I saw it. You are a jack of all trades, but sir, you cannot be the whole trade. Like, I cannot ask this of you. You worked too hard and passed out, but now you're back home safe and sound. Thanks, dick. There was a second long one. Okay, there was... I did not see the second long one. Only saw the first long one. Get in there. Hey, yo, Chiggy. Yeah, I know you wouldn't offer if you didn't want to help. It's just, I don't know, man. You got your own projects and stuff, and I don't want to, like, take away from that. That's true. I need to research all this shit? That's true, yeah. I just want the chicken game. It's so fun. Such a cute little idea in my brain tube. Well, now I gotta go fucking hunt that down, damn it. Wait, a chamomile at. Kitty! No, don't run, don't run. Shh. Shh. A leafy furball. Oh, I can't research you yet, sweet creature. But just know that I will. At some point. Look at this little fucking guy. Now that's a creature. So many little creatures abound. So many little creatures. Little creature. Ba, 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 ba. All right. Place it. I can't research anything else yet. Go get. Grow and harvest a peppermint. Okay. But now I have room. Now I can go look at the creatures. Yeah. I don't know if I answered this. I feel like I answered it in my mind, but I just gotta get an actual script written down and not keep the idea in my brain tubes and all that good stuff. And then I can go from there. Kitty. Identify a sprout kitty. Where are the other sprout kittens at? Where the creatures? Observe in 2 different locations, tame a sprout kitty. Where else would a sprout kitten? Oh, kitty! I'm coming for you, kitties. Get out of the way, I'll catch a cat. I'm on the way, kitties. Lead observation of sprout kitten. It is a kitty. Aw, diet, egg, meat, and seafood. Like egg? Yay! Kitty. Remember, you don't have to make script writing a whole sit down, spend a long time on it, anything of a whole lot of dollars. Yeah, I know. That is just currently a problem that exists within my spirit that I want everything to be done now. But I'm working on it. Got me a kitty cat, got me a cat, got me a sprout kitty cat. Yeg. Wait. I don't care about your events. I just need stuff for food. Greetings. Greetings. Good girl. Greetings. Door. Greetings. Ah, Solani, you're here. I was just having Melon and Tilly say some phrases. They're getting pretty good at it. Oh, it's like a friend event. Cool. I would like to buy food now, please. Dude, I don't know if you remember, but her saying greetings just now reminded me of the Christmas card that said Seasons Greasons. It was like the homunculus eating the back of the fucking Snow Yeti's neck. God, Seasons Greasons. Jesus. Yeg. Does it matter? Can this also be for Kitty? Shit. Oh no, I don't have enough for my chicken. I want Seasons Greasons like tattooed on my body. So fucking dumb. You can stay here with this. I'm so sorry. There's about to be a gajillion ads here. Oh, the ads already started. Never mind. I've lied to you. He's telling me to kill Spider-Man, Harry. God, that's crazy. You don't have much longer, Harry. Yeah. Oh, Dragoin Boy. Morning, Solani. I've been seeking out caves around Shimmerbrook in the past couple of days. Guess what? We found our first. There were some critters in there which might be relevant to your research. Oh, are we back? We're back. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, Harry, just disregard everything I just said. I don't know anymore, man. I think maybe I'll just like stop streaming. I don't know. I can't find a happy medium. Like I know you just do be talking, but like it has been bugging me for quite a while. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. What's wrong, chicken? Okay, my little man needs an egg. Not mixed feed? Well, fuck me running then. What's the point? Money. The fuck? Even with that, just happy to watch your stream. I appreciate that, Mr. Fingers. I don't know, man. What is a fucking... Yeah, they changed him again recently, so I don't fucking know anything anymore. Oh. Well, that's a fucking pain in the butt. Let's go try to get some more peppermint. Yeah, I've only been streaming for an hour or two, and you've been assaulted like 6 times. Delicious. Thanks.
Hello, fish boy.
More than 6, more like 10. I'm sorry. Sam? Sam? Sorry. Are you losing? Are you bad at fishing, Mr. Sam boy? Mr. Sam ma'am. I am a cat. Are you here to fish his meow? I might go AFK suddenly for a bit because of a mighty need if you get... That's fair. A mighty need to... Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's fair. The tectonic plates are shifting. Pangea is breaking apart, guys. Somebody call the police and the doctors. I break Pangea every time I have a bowel movement. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I use the bathroom, it's like that video of the snake I sent you. Just like up on the toilet, fucking jaw unhinged. Okay, goodbye. What you doing on my farm, cutie? God, I think I have to use the fucking bathroom too. Life is a mystery. You can never be sure what you have to do until it comes for you. Ugh. Is there a fucking... Was there a festival happening today? I remember they sent me a letter. And I already forgot. My short-term memory is ass. My short-term memory is dick. They tried to warn me if I kept taking Percocets that my memory would suffer. But I kept on doing it anyway. Kept on taking them every day. And I didn't care, cause it made my blood feel good. Made my blood feel good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually, BRB. Oh shit. Thanks so much for the sub, Alex. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do all that. But thanks. What the fuck does YW mean? WY? Oh, I see. That's crazy. 7-month streak, man. I never thought I'd have somebody in a fucking 1-month streak, which is just the standard rate. What is this? I appreciate Alex, you're a good friend. Now, if only you could run me over with a fucking Jeep Grand Cherokee 2024. 300 miles on the tank. Horrible gas mileage. Hi, Anders. I know you ain't coming up here to cuddle while I'm doing this. You're always such a cuddle cat when I'm in the middle of the business. Go. I'm gonna stay up tonight so that I can make friends with the Foxings. Okay. Riveting conversation. Loved it. And I scream and I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry and I throw up and I cry. But nobody needs to know that. Nobody needs to know that. Wait. So what's everybody up to today? Besides watching this Fink stream. Ow. Alright, I was supposed to go to a cave. Where's this cave at? Here? Or is that me? No, that's the cave. Okay. You would be doing dailies, you dailies, Andy. Let me in here. Ooh, items. Oh, itchy eyes, itchy eyes, itchy eyes. Fuck. Yes, I am here to translate democracy. That's fair. So I can only assume you're playing Bugoids. And then you'll have a succulent Chinese meal. I love that video. That's such a good one. What is the charge? Having a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Let's look at it. Let's take a gander at it. Oh my god, my eyes. Why? There's a succulent Chinese meal in my eyes. Circular dents in the ground after sundown. A content cave critter will unveil what lies deeper. Okay, so I need to come here at sundown. Kids. There's a dent in the ground. Maybe I can place something here. Like fucking what? Dent. A circular dent in the ground after sundown. Content cave critter will unveil it. Could it be the fox fur? What is it then? What goes there? So something shows up in here after sundown. Who are you? You're new. No, I've met you. Never mind. You're not new. You're a liar. A damned liar. After sundown. What could that be referring to? Because nighttime is the foxes. That would be what sundown means. Shut up, me. Think with your brain for once. Then you wouldn't be in these predicaments. What is the charge? Having a meal? What does sundown have to do? Oh, yeah. I remember. Oh, so I should get him his own shit. Kitty. I need to go get him his own shit then. What a food I've been. I don't want to hydrate. We're not in a taking care of myself mood this past month. I don't want to. Be with this life cycle. Oh yeah. You are bound by the transaction. Yeah, I'm bound by the fucking transaction. Goddamn fucking. There. I am bound no longer. Forgetting what? I hydrated and I stretched. I did both of those things. Trying to get a secret third transaction out of me. That's fair. To be fair, it wasn't a big stretch. I don't do big stretches anymore after the surgery. There's always the secret third thing. It's your favorite. What started the secret third thing? Like, what game hurt you? Or was it even a game? I can't remember. Was it Elden Ring? It might have been Elden Ring. I don't know. Lixords. I like you, Lixords. Can I befriend the Lixord? This doesn't seem to fit the dent. So then what the fuck? I like these little creatures. Solani, the contract demon who's just tired of being bound. Oh yeah, me. For real, it really is. Harvest Moon, I believe. The crop water existed in an island. Happiness was the first thing to send me over the edge. And then I started realizing everything in life has a secret third thing. Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, because it has like it had a sun meter and a water meter and a growth meter, and you were like, these are not explicitly stated. So what fucking goes here then? What goes in the dent? Yeah, and they don't tell you anything about that in the game's tutorial, so like, how was I to know? Secret third thing, yes. There is nothing but secret. I want this fucking Lixord. It's a good looking lord. So what goes in the hole? A circular dent in the ground after sundown. A content cave critter. Yeah. What is this secret third thing? Jesus Christ. Me playing Green Hell and not realizing the frogs in the game are poisonous and dying because I kept looking at pretty frogs. Green Hell, dude, I played that game on the Switch, which was a mistake because it's fucking unplayable on there. And I was getting murked by everything. I had to learn that shit from the wiki, which is audacious because back when I was the age of the target demographic, I didn't have consent and easy access to the internet. Yeah, no, they don't care about you. They're like, play our game. You love it. It's your favorite. And while that very may well be true, that does not mean you can abuse me. Come to me. De-assign. Thanks. Assign Kitty. Eat your munches. The secret third thing's bound and it makes me so bad. Oh yeah. Explicitly state what you want me to do, or I'm not going to participate in your game's economy. That's just how it works. money. Boo, 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 boo. Don't you wish you were a secret third thing? Don't you wish that you were? Secret third thing in your house. A secret third thing, it's true. Oh! I will give in to the voice of the Green Goblin before I ever give in to the secret third things. I did once have a nice secret third thing. I went to get Chinese like 2 weeks ago and the guy was like, I'd rather be a villain. Fair. Fucking fair. And the guy was like, hey man, do you want this tray of hot wings? Oh, that's nice. Free wangs, dude. From Panda Express. I don't know if that's where you got them from. I like picking up shit. It's technically 2 minutes past the throw time, but they're fine. It's like, yeah, man, I'll eat that fucking tray of wings. You kidding? Put that in my mouth. Give me peace. Give me peace. Free wangs is different than a secret third thing. Secret third thing is like crucial information people just elect not to tell you. Yeah. Like, you know. The entirety of the government. What goes in these holes, dude? The wings are actually vegan. That's funny. Is it the moss balls? What goes in the dent? I'm fine. I'm fucking fine. Put it away. You. What goes in the dent? Yeah, I don't know what goes in here, dude. Moss ball. He hates it. I've never had vegan wangs, but I could try some if given the opportunity. You would eat pretty much anything. You're on your knees. No, please, no another ad break. I'm begging. I'm on my knees, Harry. It's color. I mean, there's one way to fix that, Calypso. Just subscribe. They're back for me, Harry. Harry, they're in my brain. You know I would gift you a sub if I had the funds to do so, but I cannot. It wasn't literally... If I wasn't literally drowning in debt, I would get... Dude, please. Don't give me your money if you're in debt yourself. I already... Like, I feel so bad that you subscribed. You know, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm consistently in hell, always. Plus, now I have to try to get a car. And that's just not gonna fucking happen, but... Trying. Because God forbid. You say you've been reading up on man-made horrors. Tell me this thing. Welcome back. I see that the goblin had you within his goblin-y little grippers. I'm just... So funding has officially passed for brain organoid research globally. It doesn't surprise me because they were putting fucking Elon Musk's Neuralink into people, so... I'm just fated to watch the ads as my form of payment. Oh, my little ads, son. A brain organoid is a tiny synthetic brain. We literally found out they're sentient. Cool. And what are we doing to these brains? What does this research entail? Are we fucking poking and prodding it like it's the fucking 1800s? Fucking inventory. My animals crave the meat! Also, horrifically, we found that they will adapt to literally any animal it's put in, regardless of what genetic material was used. They are trying, at this point, to... What's that movie? There was this movie I watched where, they had this way of bringing you back. Like, they would inject you with something and you would die, but then they would bring you back, and when you came back, it was, you were like beyond, like you were sentient. So like they gave it to like these animals, and like the animals were thinking and like acting like people. That's what's happening. Like, we are creating that movie. And then that's gonna lead to where like the brains like fucking neural pathways and shit become too powerful, and they're able to start like fucking manipulating time and space around them. And then we're just gonna get fucking demons. That's how that's gonna happen. You don't have to tidy up my porch, sweet child. We taught them to play Pong, and the reason we found out that we were sentient is because they literally told us they hate Pong with brain signals. Yeah? Jesus Christ, don't we have enough stuff to be existential about already? No, dude. Not in the pursuit of whatever the fuck. What is the point of the organage, though? I know what the point is. They're gonna start putting them in people so they can control us. Like, it's about to be we happy few out here, man. So we found out they process information like a bazillion times faster than a supercomputer. Cool. Cool. Love that. So they're also essentially... Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We're gonna start making fucking tech priests and shit. The Adeptus Mechanicus is coming any day now. Just wait. No thanks. In fact, in Sweden, you could freaking rent a goddamn organoid computer. Oh my god, the machine spirits are becoming reality. Let's fucking go. But then that's just gonna ruin everything, because machine spirits can deny you in 40K. So like, you piss an organoid computer off, it's just gonna shut down and go fuck you. Go use something else. Somebody get Will Smith on the phone. We are becoming Warhammer 40K while also going down the Detroit Become Human path. We are literally going down the homunculus path, and it's horrifying. Oh yeah. We'll call the SCP Foundation. No, we're fucked, dude. You better get used to it. Hope you're ready to have an organid sibling that your parents will love more than you. And that will eventually come to sacrifice you because it realizes that you're in the way of the love. So they found that when put into a damaged... So they found that when put into a damaged brain. Cool. Alright, I'm gonna go contemplate my life while felling Titan BRB. You do that. Fell that bastard. Man, sure wish I could fell Titan. Ouch. He basically goes, oh, ew, no, I don't like that. And it repairs the damaged path. I mean, it was only a matter of time. We're moving past what's acceptable, I believe. Like, humanity is just trying to speedrun the old gods coming back and smiting us. Love it. So what you're saying is it's the giant rat that makes all the rules. Oh yeah, the organoid's gonna win. For sure. That makes all the rules. Ugh. Me when Calypso airdrops me 1 Yoda Byte folder of crap content directly into my government mandatory Neuralink. That's fucking hilarious. That's so good. Me when I'm minding my own business and I'm fucking... Sorry, brain shut off. I got Neuralinked like 2 terabytes of dick pics. Just you wait though. There will be a time where the government, man, like you're pretty much forced to have a Neuralink. I guarantee it. It's coming. Free lobotomy with Amazon Prime. Free shipping. Spike directly to the eye. No, I don't doubt it. Give it time. We're just going to the straight cyberpunk route. Somebody's gonna piss you off and you're gonna be able to like DDoS their Neuralink and kill them. Fuck you, Tegan. Food for the rabbit. Me when my nephew uploads a powerful virus directly into my Neuralink that makes me experience his hell for 1 billion years in 10 seconds. God, it's a funny prank for YouTube. Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm here to show you the prank I did yesterday night where I upload a virus directly into my cousin's Neuralink. He's still in there fighting demons and like it like has subtitles that like says screaming in background and it just hears you fucking wailing. He's like, man, I wonder what he's fighting in there. Funny prank, guys. It gets like 12 billion views instantly. Skibbity toilet. Ah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Truly the only good thing to come of such a monstrosity. Yes. I would use my Neuralink to consistently drop Calypso such questionable content. They'd be sleeping and it would be like, ding! And then behind their eyelids in like their REM sleep state, there would just be pictures of cocks. I really would, yeah. Your every waking moment and every moment you rest would be full of gay porn. Calypso being blasted with Lethal Company monster porn. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, hello there, femboy. Hello, Tegan. I brew all sorts of potions to help with a variety of ailments. I've called you here today because I've been giving out some of these potions. I think you'll find them usable. Directly into my Neuralink and it would auto-open behind my eyes, so I'd be mid-conversation and suddenly go, yeah, so I was telling him, ah! Okay, so anyway. God, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Where's that bird bitch at? Suai, I need you. Thanks. Sorry, I just got an eye full of full frontal nudity directly in my corneas. Yeah, sorry, dude. I saw whole shaft. It was crazy. I wish I knew where Kip was. I just installed the anime filter in my eyes, so now everyone looks hot. All it costs is me praising Nintendo every day for 3 hours. Yeah. Oh my god, installing the entire Valve index on your Neuralink. So you just see, like, TF2 models running around and shit. Like, you can't tell what's reality anymore, you're just fighting demons constantly. Kitty cat, kitty, kitty cat, kitty. Kitty, 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 kitty cat. Okay then. Why am I so fucking itchy? Why am I so fucking itchy? Everything I do is itchy. Everything I do is itchy. Itchy. Me inviting Calypso over and yelling at them because they don't have Counter-Strike installed in their brain so they can't see my new furniture textures. That's funny. Yeah. God, what a world. Yeah, like they just see like the they see the Gary's mod error texts everywhere because they don't have the fucking shit installed. It's like, what do you mean you can't see my Minecraft granite countertops? I didn't fucking download the mod, dude. Well, what the fuck? I sent it to you on fucking Neuralink Weibo, or whatever the fuck. I said, what was it? I sent it to you on Poob, dude. What are you doing? Download it. It's fucking on Poob. Get it. Download Poob. It's on Poob for you, dude. It's on Poob. Download Poob. All social media has been taken down. We're all forced to roleplay on Amino. Oh my god. That would suck. I could see it. I could see the world coming to that, though, for sure. I would remove myself from the neural link if you know what I mean. Yeah, I do. That's fair. I would tear it from my fucking frontal cortex. Oh snap, Bob Flash Gelato drops today. I can't. That sounds so fucking awful. And I'm a fan of gelato. Yeah, we're gonna run to Taco Bell. I have to try it. You let me know, dude. You let me know how that goes down. Get me a noose. You know it's gonna be so bad. Oh yeah. Where the fuck is this bird bastard? Where does he go? Kip. Why can I never find you and your bird? Like that time Buffalo Wild Wings did Mountain Dew wings and the wings just tasted like, ugh. No. That's like, what's that one chicken the person made? It was like NyQuil chicken or whatever. They fucking cooked it in NyQuil. Disgusting. It's on Poob, dude. Try it on Poob. At least you can OD on NyQuil chicken. I'm forced to live with Mountain Dew wings in my memory. That sucks. But see, with the Neuralink, you wouldn't be able to OD. It would just shock your system and you'd wake back up. It was a foxing. The system injects me with Narcan from the inside. I'm forced to survive and fined for trying to take money away from Elon's investment. Yeah, yeah, that really is how it's gonna be like that. I promise, dude. It's gonna be like that. God, excuse me for almost dying. Yeah, now here's your fucking bill for 12 grand. Fucking learn your place. In Helldivers lore, a server administrator died in the server room because of the heat from all the computers. His family was fined for lost production due to his death. Yeah? Yeah? Well, see, like, we can't even just joke about that anymore because did you see that news report about how this guy tried to sue Disney because of his wife's death at like their park or whatever, but then Disney was like, you can't sue us because you signed up for a Disney Plus membership and it was in like the details or some shit. So like it's not even crazy. Yeah, surprised you can't sue us. You had Disney Plus. Yeah. So like I'm not even surprised. Anything is possible in this fucked up world at the moment. That shit's crazy. I feel so bad for that guy. Where are you, Kip? You bastard fish. I still want to know what's supposed to go in those pits. What do you want? What do you want? Kitty. I don't know what to put in the pit. Game kind of doesn't make that shit very clear. Whoa. Oh, Mexican pizza, I love you so. I've never had a Mexican pizza. Does it taste like a taco? What goes there? It's nostalgic as fuck for me, but it's honestly fair. Fair. That's how I feel about Crystal Rock candy. Absolutely disgusting, but it's very nostalgic. Ooh, a ground beetle. Could it be a ground beetle that goes in the hole? Could it be you? Do you want to go into the pit? Daddy's not having a good time. What the fuck do you want? Circular dents in the ground. After sundown. A content cave critter will unveil what lies deeper. Oh, I bet I have to befriend the Lickzords first. Okay, well, I'm a silly little Billy. I should be put in the soup. Do you be my friend if I was a tiny little worm? Beep 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 boop beep 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 beep. Beep beep beep. And then I laid my ass down, and then I went the fuck to bed, and then I slept through the night, and I got some money. And I got some money. Sick. Yo. Did it. Kitty. Alright, so now let's search this. Ooh, a sparkling leaf. Go, 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 go. They don't have fries, Calypso, but they got something called Fiesta potatoes. Calypso will eat a Fiesta potato. They're a funny little guy like that. How the hell did you make it to the Taco Bell already? That, please, without sour cream. You're gonna eat the sour cream. Oh, fair. No. Yes. Because it's needed for the gelato. Oh, okay. Og. Fucking Og. Fucking Og. Wog, 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 wog. Wog, 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 wog. I wanna try gelato, but not the fucking Baja Blast kind. I wanna try gelato. Oh, what you doing over there basking in the sun, Yandy? Bandersnatch. Sweet kitty. God, my phone is on fire. It does not like VTube Studio. What do you think a cave lizard would eat? You think vegetables? Oh yeah, there is a grub bowl. You think he'd eat some bugs? Bug. Okay, we're gonna get it some grub. And then I'm gonna buy it a cavern bed. I must become friends with the cave Ligzord. I feel like this is how I get past the pits in the ground. And if it's not, well, what the fuck? I'm so sorry, Calypso. I know he's screaming. I know Harry, that the Green Goblin's coming for him. I know. Yep. Yup. Any second now, I'm about to lose him. That shit is so funny. I feel bad, but it's so funny. He's trying to sell me Gatorade, Harry. Who's selling you Gatorade? Let's go make friends with a Ligzord. Let's go make friends with a Ligzord. Let's go make friends with a Ligzord. Welcome back. Who was trying to sell you Gatorade? Mr. Defoe. False alarm area. The Green Goblin, of course. That's pretty funny. Just the Green Goblin having a sponsorship deal. Do you want to be my friend, little Groobs? Okay, let's try feeding them a bowl of boogs. Do you want? No, it doesn't like the Groobs. Okay, so what the hell do you like? Meat. I swear to fuck. It's a lizard. Well, I guess Komodo dragons, they be eating meat and they're Ligzords, but those things look more like salamanders. Are they not called cave salamanders? Fuck. Now I have to wait till tomorrow. No. Why is life so fucking hard? Does eggs count as meat? No, because there wouldn't be a separate fucking dish for meat if it counted. Ugh. So I'm tired of this shit. Be back tomorrow, Ligzords. Gods forbid. I'm about to become the Green Goblin. You don't even know. My name is Willem Dafoe and I'm the Green Goblin. Killing my son, except I didn't. Willem Dafoe was my dad. Willem Dafoe was my dad. Egg. Egg. Lizard, 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 lizard. Turns out I can't say lizard 5 times fast. Mate bow now. Thank you. We'll be needing some more of that. Some more lenient. You cannot understand the power that I wield. You cannot understand the power that I wield. The power that I wield. It is crazy. And full of beans. Wah ha ha ha. Hee 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 hee. Ba 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 ba.
Calypso! You're a fucking egg.
Eep. Yeah, that's fair.
Only one Ligzord fan today.
Don't worry, I came packing with a delicious, succulent meal. Quickly. Friendship with me and the Ligzord. Its name is gonna be fucking Dwayne, 'cause he's a rock lizard. Yeah, rock. Alright, so, can you tell me what's up? Hey, could you fucking help me? What's going on? Dwayne the Rock Ligzord, yes. Am I dumb? What the fuck? What am I simply missing? Is it because I didn't talk to one with the freaking green tail? No, because it's just a harvestable. What? Over it? Over it. I'm as over it as I can be. Yeah, I'm here to befriend a fox. In Metis. Enjoy. Fuck. You're lucky. You're so lucky, dude. Get in your house. Dwayne. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. I don't even want to go to the second cave because I haven't figured out the fucking first cave, dude. Dude, I don't want to do it. I haven't figured out the first one yet. You are killing me. Who wants to meet me out back of this, the Circle K just to whoop my ass? I'm not taking rain checks or no's for an answer. I demand an ass whooping. I'll meet you there, but upon your arrival, the fog will clear and I'll already be laying dead on the pavement. Fuck, it's always the fog. I can never best it. So tired of this. Chicken. 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 Does anybody else have a single clue what goes in those holes in the cave? Like, I'm doing my best and I just don't get it. They are circular. Oh, maybe it's something the lizards drop once you're buddies with them. We'll see, I guess. What is this and why isn't it growing? Eh? Eh? I ever be free of the skate, of the skate, of the skate. Gog. Ugh. Gog. Thanks. Appreciate it. Dreading main scenario dailies. Why is it because you need... Do you need somebody to get you into the daily? I could fill my sub and help you out. Shit fuck. Well, fuck me then. Weep. Weep. I know I'm holding you at gunpoint. No, if you're already through them, there's no point. Did I do it? Oh shit. I don't know your little perksy perks, little man. Don't know your perks either. Unfortunate. Yeah, that's fair. Already had Linner, huh? Already had that high quality Linner. You fucking egg. That's fair. Yeah! No, I don't eat hibachi! Motherfucker. I said no, I don't eat. No, dude, it's your favorite. What are you talking about? Gosh, I'm your favorite. No! Sorry about that. They just won't stop yelling at me. Castrum is your favorite. As strong as your favorite. I know this to be true, so do you. I hope you get alliance raids to really just add to your day. 'Cause I know it's your favorite. That's weak energy. That's small dick energy that you're exuding right now. Battery glass. That's for her. I frankly just wish to disappear, but I live in a constant state of it. You're such a tiny little man. You're such a... This is such a fucking... This is a gay porn orc if I've ever seen one. Like, that guy was created for Alpha Hole Prison. That's what he looks like. Gay pork, if you will. Shut up. Respectfully, shut up, of course, but shut up nonetheless. Let me in. What want? Nothing. You make me sad. You make me angry, Phil. Oh, I get to write a poem? As flowers bloom and birds rejoice, I hang with the boys, yo. As flowers bloom and birds rejoice, I shall make my choice. Is this supposed to be a sonnet? It's just how I hang with the boys, yo. No, not a sonnet. A haiku? As flowers bloom and birds rejoice. No, it's not. So what the fuck? This is not a good poem. Fine. When pink and white blossoms fall. Whatever. I don't think I trust you, creature. No, not yet. There are several poems on the board. Read them. Old season passes, marked by falling pink petals. New season arrives. Okay, that's pretty rough. The gentle breeze fills the air, rivers flow pink, the flowers bloom in rings. There is softness below my feet and in my hands some sweets. These are fucking rough. Who wrote these? Blossoms pink. Seasons pass in a blink. Blossoms pink. I raised my hand and drank. These fuckers are drunk. They are shit-faced. Kip. The last one is alcoholic, Jesus. I love how the only place I'm allowed to sit down is with Kip, and honestly, good. Me like Kip. Me sit with Kip. I'm telling you, if my poem doesn't get a single vote, I'm over it. Perfect time to enjoy our snacks. I'm a bird. Who won the poem? Who won? Okay, who won? It was Suo, wasn't it? Kip can have it. I'm just very is it because I voted for Kip? Okay. So the poems are rigged. Got it. Cool. I love a rigged show. I taste blood in my mouth. that made me so angry I fucking shonen protagonist spit blood up. Actually, that's more of like a fucking wuxia thing. They're constantly spitting up blood in those stories. Love the taste of blood in the morning. Can't fucking get enough of it. Why would I want a paintbrush? It do not make sense to me, son. And I scream and I cry and I show and I shit my pants. There's no rhyme in this book because I shit my pants. You might think it's a joke, but I promise you, there's poop in my pants. Sorry, I'm like 3 years old today. Gates. It's back here. Harry. Harry, I feel it. I've not much longer for this world. You obtained an artifact. It's been added to your profile. As you kept the artifact, you felt grateful for the creatures who helped open this path. You sense a stronger bond with rock salamanders. New skill, tamed rock salamanders start with +1 bond. Harry, the worms, Harry. It come for us all, Harry. Can all be saved, Harry. Beep bop boop bop beep boop bop beep boop bop beep boop beep boop bop beep. Beep boop bop beep boop bop beep. What the fuck? They're speaking Spanish, Harry. When there's light, there will be shadows, and when it's night, nature starts to glow. Wait till it's day, and spring bounties will lead the way. What does that mean? Welcome back. It's a gypsum flower. Is... What the fuck? What's the fucking fuel? So use the water I can on it. I'm fine. Organic materials just... I don't know what the fuck is going on. What is this? Sure. I'm about as confused as a little man can be. This counts as organic material, right? Fuck you. Fuck your couch.
What is this? No!
Wood, huh? I guess I could take a nap. Oh, hello, rock salamander friends. Pitch lily. So I think it's time we reevaluated our friendship. And that is simply because you refused to kill me. Okay. Just saying, it's real crazy that you won't even give me that good night. I'm not asking for much. I didn't want it.
What? No, wait.
Oh, I need one of them. Look at this little guy. He's just a fucking dude. Oh, phenomenal. Dude, the second I'm able to, I'm befriending one of those. It's gonna require a lot of research, though. They're very generous with the ladders they give you. No, dude. You never take into consideration the fact that I would become as Ghost. Like, the friendship would never end because I would be haunting you forever. Oh, fuck, I didn't mean to eat it, shit. What? Basic mana potion. Whoa! Let your light shine out. I think... Oh no, I found a Grahatia plush, but he's so much money. Show me this thing. Is it cooler than the one I got you? Because if it is, I mean, go for it. That doesn't look right, does it? I need a sky fruit and egg, whatever the fuck that is. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. Somebody screen cap this for me, because I don't know how to screen cap on a 60% keyboard. What could that be? I thought it was this, but it doesn't have the same general shape. Thanks. Fucking knice. I will gaze upon... Ooh. What is? What is? A caffodil. Oh. I will gaze upon The Grey Haze taste blush. Moment. I only need one. There's too much shit on my personage that I need. I need to build like a chest or something. Joust. Fuck! Wood plank. Sure. Wood. Fuck! Yeah. Yeah. All the things that I don't fucking need. All the things that I don't really fucking need. I can't research them right now, so they need to go away. They are taking up space. Okay, let me look at this Grace Haste situation. It would be on Etsy. Show me the dice. Show me the dice. Show me the dice. Oh yeah, I remember seeing this little guy. He's so little. I'm coming, oh, he's the one that can get naked. I'm coming, Virus Baby. Hi, baby. There has been such a rise of people making little plushy dudes that can just get so naked. Cute little Grey Hay plush. Tiny. Oh, Jesus Christ, Virus! Fuck me, running. You good, dude? You scared me, my son. Sorry, that was right at the fucking mic. I don't care about Nikki, I care about him little face. He do have a little face. It's very cute. Gotta go buy more food for the lizards today. Gotta go buy more food for the lizard today. Him little tail's so cute, him little ears. He do have ear. You do have a funny little ear. I just want an Urianger plush, but fucking who I crave never exists. You. Beep bop boop, beep 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 bop boop. Yeah. Cute kitty. A bunny. Oh, excuse me. Bunny. I think you're cute, and you're a bunny. There's a lot of little men around. That makes Solani happy. Solani like to see little men. Ooh. Do not take that out of context, though. Little men strictly means cats, other types of animals, creatures. Please. Gods spare me. Funny. Calypso, do me a favor. Open Elden Ring. No clip to the end game. Fight the Elden Lord. Win. Report to me your findings. I can report to you right now I fucking died 60 times. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. Clairvoyance, yes. Snarevoyance, the snail version of such a thing. How do I submit? Can I not just... Can I not just submit... Fucking... And then a secret turd thing. I grow so weary of the secret turd things, Dade. There's always so many of them. Me as well, my son. Your dad was there when first the secret third thing was discovered. He knows, he remembers. Carries the burden. I yearn for the days when people were upfront with I yearn for the days that games came in physical boxes and there were fucking manuals and little booklets that had character descriptions and art on them. Alright? I miss the substance of it all. Makes me so sad. Clips, I know this is fucking random. But, like, I'm all over the place today. You wanna watch some spooky? You wanna watch some fucking scary? Do you wanna just fucking engage in cinema? Oh, you know, cinema. We could find whatever horror movie strikes our fancy. Egg.
Beep bop boo, beep bop boo. Beep bop boop, beep bop beep boop bop beep. Beep bop bop bop. Ouch.
You have a question? What is this question? Well, I mean, yeah. Well, that depends on when it comes out. If I'm in California, that's iffy. It's real iffy. Okay. And that's gonna be at our theater? Like, I know it's a movie, but I feel like, I don't know. Potato. Go. Sir, I'm just asking these questions because they're questions that need answers. Because it's like, it's an independent film. It's like... Oh, the question was, Markiplier is making this movie, okay? I'm aware that it is a movie that is going to be in theaters. However, it is not like a blockbuster like Hollywood movie or nothing. It's more of like an independent feature. So like, is that going to be in global theaters? All right. Oh no, I forgot to buy meters for my Ligzord. Ligzord Theater. Alright, good. Lit. Back to my earlier question though, you want to watch a spooky? I don't really know what the fuck we're gonna watch. If not YouTube Shorts, because we can't really do Netflix or anything, because God forbid I stream it.
I'm sorry, Ligzord. Here you go. Enjoy. Lizard man everywhere. Lizard man. Lizard man.
What? I'm sorry. Are you ads again? Did you get ads? Goodbye. Goodbye. I'll remember you. Spooky.
It's a spooky, 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 spooky.
I need a seed bowl, please. Need 6 of these. Need 6 fucking egg bowls. And I'm gonna need about 2 more egg bowl. Thank you.
Life is crazy and
much pain. Hee ha hoo, hee ha hee ho. Hee ha 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 hee ha ha hee ho ha hee ho hee hee. It's spooky. It's crazy little spooky. Thought you were safe, but you're not from the spooky. Wait. I'm totally normal. I'm totally okay. Everything that you're worried about can't hurt you anyway. Hell yeah, 2 days of rain. Oh no, what's wrong with the fucking onions? I mean garlic. Motherfucker. Fuck. Well, goddamn annoying. Garlic withers if it's not in the sun. Pain in the friggin' butt. Now I gotta find more garlic. Now I gotta find more garlic. Garlic sauce. Garlic thyme. Where the garlic at? What's up, Gog? Why he Gogin? Yeah? Go to sleep then. Sir? I know you were up till 3 a.m. So go the fuck to sleep. Do not incur my ire. Yeah. Your tweets and your fucking Tumblr timestamps notified me of that. Oh, I see you're in the ad world again. Yeah, they came for you, bud. They have you in their wicked, wicked grasp. Yeah, go to bed, dude. Go the fuck to Speed. No, that's not how the body works, man. The body needs what the body needs. And if that's a fat, saucy nap, it's a fat, saucy nap. Welcome back. Ogog. One 800. Put me in the soup. 1-800. Put me in the soup. And if you don't, then I might scream. So put me in the soup. Oh. Oh, god damn it. Well, looks like that onion's withering again. Alright, I'm gonna call it here, fiends, because I've had about enough. So yeah, thanks for coming. Hope you have a great night. Stay safe. Go the fuck to sleep, Calypso. And yeah, I'll see you whenever I have the will to make a stream schedule again. Bye-bye.